Welcome to this special edition of the Doctor's Eyes Only podcast. My name's Cameron Heasley. I'm a partner and advisor at Vestia Personal Wealth Advisors. Today, I'll be your host as I kick off a special edition of Three Questions with Cameron. The purpose of this segment is to highlight the extraordinary things that our clients are doing outside of their day jobs. I'd like to introduce you to Lee and Lori Wilbur, who've been longtime clients for 15 plus years. Lee's an emergency medicine physician practicing in Central Arkansas, and his amazing wife, Lori, is the family's CFO, COO. She helps run their nonprofit and ensures the well-being of their family. Bottom line, for you baseball fans, Lori's the utility player and doesn't get paid nearly enough for the various roles and responsibilities that she does. In all sincerity, one of the things I appreciate most about the Wilburs is their servant's heart. And I know they have a deep passion for the physical, mental, and spiritual health of the vulnerable and marginalized. We have many listeners coming from various worldviews today, but I love the question Lee and Lori asked themselves as it relates to their nonprofit. If Christ took over the healthcare system today, how would he do it? So Lee, Lori, without further ado, I'd love to ask you a couple questions. Tell me how you got here and what led you to be so passionate about Divine Mercy Health Center.
Cameron, your introduction was awesome. I mean, you hit on a couple of different things. As you mentioned, I'm an emergency physician. I finished residency in 2004, but I think the vision for Divine Mercy was put on my heart probably even before that point. Lori has always been sort of a guiding light in my life and really helped with my faith. And I said a prayer a long, long time ago. I was living sort of three separate lives from the standpoint of I had a professional life, a personal life, and a faith life, almost like if you can imagine three Venn diagrams. And they overlapped in the middle, but not a lot. You know, they felt very separate. And my prayer was for alignment. And God answered it in a very big way. And he created Divine Mercy Health Center. When I went into medicine, I was trying different things and having success in a number of areas. My vision for, kind of healthcare was I was working in the inner city and so many patients could only access the emergency department. The brokenness of the system, they couldn't access primary care and the system was just not set up to advocate well for those that are relatively voiceless. And so I started to create programs where I'd help them navigate the system and kind of realizing that it's so difficult to navigate for those of us that work in it. And even as physicians and physical therapists, how are these marginalized populations ever going to do that? And so my programs always had navigators with them, like when I would do an HIV or a Hep C or a sexual assault program or something like that. We always had navigators to help them get into the clinic system. And that, I think, probably helped us realize that that's a part of the secret of healthcare success and getting better health outcomes is helping the patient from where they are, from their perspective, realizing that you really have to understand those that you serve in order to serve them well. And then you have to have a larger purpose. It can't be about you as a provider. It has to be that you're actually serving God. And so by doing so, it allows us to be a little bit more successful because then we're just servants. It's never about us in the first place. So fast forward, that answered prayer of alignment through Divine Mercy has really brought our family closer together. It's really brought our marriage. It's helped our marriage. And I think it has brought greater fulfillment to my career. Every day when I go in clinically, I feel like I've got a greater purpose because it fuels the need to further expand Divine Mercy, and it fuels the whole purpose of why we created Divine Mercy in the first place. So for me, Divine Mercy was just an answered prayer. I mean, God has been so providential in our life, and that's really the foundations of the why we created it. Maybe Lori can kind of speak to your perspective of,
I'd love that.
How it came to be.
Yeah. So Lee and I have been together a long time. We met in high school, and he always knew what he wanted to do. I think from the age of 10 or 11, he knew he wanted to be a physician. And I kind of floundered. I'd always had a servant's heart. I knew I wanted to do something that served others. My parents were both teachers, but I didn't want to go the teacher's route. So I just remember he and I talking about it, and he's like, well, what about healthcare? So I went into physical therapy knowing that that's a career that I would have hands-on, be able to help people, be able to really impact others' lives. And it was, and it had been a great career, but I think there was always something missing with it. Once we had kids and I stayed home with them, I think our paths didn't necessarily cross. Lee and I weren't always aligned on what our roles and our passion was. And so this, like he has said, has really brought us together. We both have had a very strong faith. I've always wanted to serve others, to serve the poor, to do some kind of mission work. And Lee was able to do that through our church, to do some medical missions in Honduras. But with little kids, I could never go with them. And so when this came about, it was kind of that opportunity. Not only could I participate in serving the vulnerable in our own community, but our kids could as well. And right now we've got a almost 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they've been very active in helping us with this mission. And again, it's been a great experience for them to be able to see, other sides of life. Not everyone lives in the bubble that we are very privileged to live in. And you don't always have to go overseas to serve those most in need. You can do them. They're right there in your own backyard.
I can't imagine it's been all peaches and cream. There's got to be a few hiccups along the way, correct?
No, it's been all peaches and cream, Cameron.
Okay, great.
Yeah. No, my friend, it has not been. It's been, it hasn't been easy. I don't want to say it's difficult because it's awesome. It's, what's that classic saying of, whatever it is, if you love your work, it's not work. But I would love to speak to some of the struggles and lessons learned along the way, if you want to hear.
Go for it, Lee. Please share.
Well, this was just almost like a drive, and I use this analogy. Probably some of the younger viewers may not even know what I'm talking about, but some of our older TVs that used to have static, and you would go to those channels sometimes where the static would break for a moment, and you get like a little image, and then the static would come back. That's really kind of what my brain and my heart felt like for about 18 years. There were little snippets, there were little visions of what this would look like. And part of that prayer that I was talking about earlier was prayer for clarity. Like, what is this? What is this supposed to be? And it didn't necessarily come like the clear channel that I was talking about. It came in kind of those snippets, and we sort of pieced it together. And we kind of realized that those were messages from God. We're like, what is he telling us? And how do we sort of put this together? And that's where it really came to be. So when this became more of a reality, I was in academic medicine for about the first 13 years of my career. One of my many roles in my last academic appointment was there was a sort of a free indigent clinic that was reporting through my office. And I was responsible, obviously, for its budget and everything else. And I was really trying to advocate for a larger budget to the chancellor, mainly because we were doing some pretty amazing work, but the university didn't really know what we were doing. So that caused me to go on a search for best practices. And I found a very interesting health system in Memphis, Tennessee, which is about 2.5 hours away from us. It's called Church Health. So some of the viewers may know about that. The founder of Church Health is Dr. Scott Morris. He is an ordained Methodist minister and also a physician. And he had a calling in 1986. He was training up in the Northeast, and he just had a passion for going to the place with the greatest racial disparities in America. And at the time, it was Memphis, Tennessee. So he has just a wonderful founder story of, having just a couple of dollars in his pocket, arriving, going to the local Methodist church, telling him what the vision was about what he wanted to do. And they basically said, well, across the street, there's this kind of broken down brownstone. We'll give it to you for $1 if you want to start seeing patients there. So day one, he and probably a very small staff see 6 patients day one. And a few years ago, they moved into a 2 million square foot facility and are doing amazing work. But what his vision is that let's look at the root cause of poor health outcomes and compare and contrast that to how the current healthcare system addresses those. And so we learned a lot from him, and we learned a lot from that system and I was already realizing through my own program development in my academic career that discrepancy of our healthcare system doesn't really address the root cause issues. And the root cause issues for poor health outcomes are what are called the social determinants of health. And those are like where we live, work, play, things like our zip code. Amazing things that so many people don't know is that a quick statement that is somewhat of a stimulus for folks is that your zip code determines your health. Here in Little Rock, it's a community of, let's say, 350,000. And so it's not sprawling over a large geographic area. But our age discrepancy difference is 18.4 years. And so what that means is that you take an age match control, male or female, and you grow up in one neighborhood, you die 18.4 years earlier than if you're just about 4 miles up the road. And so you've really got to ask yourself, why is that? Why, does our zip code determine that? And so when we started to look at that and learn from Dr. Morris, rather than just create clinics for those in need, he realized that poor education portends bad health. So he started to realize that his patients need to, graduate high school, and some need trade schools. So he created schools within his health system. When they have transportation issues and they can't make their doctor's visits, he created sort of a transportation type service. When they had housing insecurity, they started to partner with attorneys throughout Memphis and started to improve the housing of their patients. So they addressed the root cause issues, and that really framed how we created Divine Mercy. We wanted to do that same thing, and we wanted to say, well, if Scott Morris did it in 1986 and it's 2000, fill in the blank, why don't we just do what he did rather than start in the 1986 model? Let's create a large system here. Let's kind of a one-stop shop like they have there, where we can address all these issues. The clinics and somewhat of the school and the linkages to community-based resources would all be there in one site. Now, this is circa 2018 when we incorporated as a nonprofit. We put our board of directors in place. We were examining real estate. We were talking about capital campaigns. It looks like it was going to cost about $5 million, which we don't have, just to write a check. So we're like, well, we got to raise a lot of money. I was really kind of struggling of how to present to the board how we're going to raise $5 million. I didn't know how to do it. And so I went to our chapel and I just opened up the Bible, to be terribly honest. And I was going to see what page I opened it up to and see what happened. And started to read a lot of scripture on discipleship. And then it just hit. That was probably the first Divine Mercy epiphany, was discipleship. It's like, you don't build the big center like Memphis. You take your model to the people. You take it to the at-risk neighborhoods, and you take this as a mission. It's like what we did in Honduras, but even better. We serve our neighbors. And rather than us taking an external team into an at-risk neighborhood, why don't we create the team from within? Why not create the missionaries from within the neighborhood so that we serve one another? It seems like there would be greater buy-in. If we went into a faith community, a various church, why not have the team that supports the mission come from that church? There's going to be greater investment. And so in 2021, this church in an area that serves a largely Hispanic community and an immigrant community called a friend of ours who was on our board and said, we want to do a medical mission. And this is like the day I walk out of the chapel, where, we want to start doing these medical missions. And so, now 14 missions later, right? 14 missions later, and our 15th mission that's going to happen this weekend, having now served probably 900 to 1,000 individuals, that's just how God works, And so we've done these medical missions, and now we've sort of framed it into zones where we have strategically created zones in the central Arkansas area, in the most at-risk areas. That's been quite successful. And Lori can speak to how the missions are designed and how they work, but it's been really, really successful by creating kind of that mission view from within. And then what God has sort of shown us is that our data was indicating that there was a huge health equity gap in these areas, which we knew that to be, because anytime we go into a new area, we write a needs assessment so that we know that we're in an appropriately targeted area. And those needs assessments show healthcare deserts where we serve. And so we knew there was a health equity gap, but we were struggling to get patients integrated into the current clinic model for many reasons. Many of our patients that we serve are uninsured, and the clinics don't want to see them. And the free clinic system is not a robust enough primary care system for us to refer into. Providential, again, came across this wonderful action-oriented pastor in Southwest Little Rock, which is where we started our whole mission, where we started this ministry. And he had some space in his building, and his prayer was that he was discerning about how Divine Mercy could sort of serve his area, and he opened up his space. And so we're doing a current construction project right now. We hope to open this summer. We're a little scared. Don't tell anybody that. But this is going to be the first of what we hope to be numerous clinics. It's not only primary care. It's kind of like what Dr. Morris did in Memphis. It's going to have primary care. It will have mental health. It will have substance abuse counseling, and it will have that Divine Mercy connection care coordination system where we assess up front all the issues that our patients are struggling with, and we link them to the services. So that's what our clinic's going to do.
Lori, before I jump to the next question, I got to learn more about the missions. Tell us a little bit about what those look like and how you're involved.
Kicking it off and starting it off in this more Hispanic neighborhood, it was a challenge. Neither of us are bilingual. We keep talking about how we need to learn Spanish, and so that was kind of a challenge. But again, I think that was God's way of working it, where we knew we couldn't do it. We knew we couldn't bring a team from our church unless they were bilingual. So it kind of forced us to integrate the population from that church. So mission days. So we usually do about a 4-hour mission. So we'll have patients come in. We have different zones set up within. We'll just take over their parish center, or the gym in one of the churches is what we use. And we just set up various stations. We have volunteers. It's all totally free. Our missions are completely free. So we have volunteers set up where they'll come and they'll get registered as a patient. They'll go through a demographic area so that we can get pertinent information from them. They carry a little folder that's called the My Journey to My Best Health that they'll take along with them, a little binder that they take home so that they can be part of their health care. It's got all their information in there when they go to the nurse and get biometrics done, height, weight, blood pressure, all those things, so that they can follow along with what their numbers are. They can take them to their primary care doctor if they have one. If they show up at the ER, they can take this folder and say, here's my results for the last X number of months. And we also do some community outreach. We've had Goodwill come there because they do GED programs. We have formed some of our own programs that we've seen we're lacking in those communities. We started a Zumba class. We have a strengthening class. We were offering CPR training. We're trying to kind of kick off a nutrition class as well to teach them not only healthy cooking, but healthy eating, because obviously diet, all of that goes hand in hand with our health. We have volunteer physicians come in where they can do a physician consult. So any kind of questions they have, go through their medication list, anything that they need to do. We've had a chiropractor come before, which is a very popular thing. But one of the most unique and important things I think we do is called a motivational interview. So it's something that Lee kind of put together, pulling a few different clinical instruments together, where it's a 20-point questionnaire where it kind of looks at those social determinants of health. It asks about their education level, about their income level, their housing needs, food insecurity, transportation, all those things. So we have all that stuff in a system, in a database that we can address that. And then most importantly is they are part of their own healthcare where they set their own goals. So we ask them, what are your goals for the next 6 months, next 12 months in those different areas? And they're in a physical, physical or health related goal. Do you have a spiritual goal? Do you have an education goal? Do you have an occupation goal? So again, all those are part of the healthcare system. So if we can help them kind of articulate that, then instead of the provider or the physician telling them, you need to lose weight, you need to do this, it's them saying, well, one of my goals is I'd like to be healthier, I'd like to lose weight, or I'd like to get my GED, or I'd like to go to college, those kinds of things. And again, we all know that if it's our own goal and we're empowered and instead of somebody telling us what to do, then we're much more inclined to follow through with that.
Yeah, the key word I heard was empowerment.
Yeah, for sure. Empowerment is navigation, empowerment, all those words for sure.
It's really neat because like a lot of the population we serve have never been asked to dream aspirationally ever. Like, when we're like, what do you want to achieve? In this health inventory motivational interview that Lori is talking about, the first question we put on there was, what do you want to overcome or achieve in the next 12 months? And we do it open-ended. They can say anything. And a lot of times they sit there and they're just surprised. They're like, what do you mean? We're like, no, really, like dream anything. Like, how can we help you in the next 12 months? And then the second question we ask is, how motivated are you to do so? 0 to 10. Because after the mission, as Lori mentioned, they then have an appointment with us. It's not like we go into an area and do like, let's say an immunization clinic and then we're gone. This is a point of enrollment. This is how patients get into the system. And then they get a care coordination appointment afterwards. And so our care coordination team meets with them on an ongoing basis of however frequent they want to do it as a patient. It might be weekly, it might be monthly, it may be at one time, but our care coordinators can look at that question and say, oh, so, you would like to, get your associate's degree, or you would like to, get out of being unsheltered or homelessness. And you're really motivated to do so. Boom, let's help you do that. And the cool thing about the model is we don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to have all the resources. We're the connector. So we know what the issue is. And so we know what the goals is they want to achieve. And so then we just put them in connection with all those resources that already exist throughout our city. And what's really neat about the model is it's purely exportable. It's not customized to Little Rock. We could go into a rural community throughout Arkansas and do the exact same thing and be successful. You could go outside of Arkansas and do the same thing in other states. And so that's what's really neat about the model. The missions have been really, really successful. And just the main limitation is just kind of personnel, our time and personnel. But boy, if we could sort of continue to expand on those teams, then it's somewhat infinitely expandable, which is exciting and scary.
Well, in a moment, I'll ask you a bonus question. But before I do, one of the values we hold near and dear at Vestia is this concept of wealth that matters. I think I prepared you in advance to potentially answer this question. But how do you manage your time to live out your personal wealth that matters? And I think a lot of it probably ties in with what we've been discussing thus far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think as we've said, we both have always had servant's heart. We've always been faithful and always have tithed to our church. And so we know that the money aspect is important, but we also know that time and talent is equally as important. So for us, time is limited, but I think we squeeze every minute out of it that we can and try to pour in not only our nonprofit, but other volunteer opportunities within our community and at our church. And then just also that talent. We both have healthcare backgrounds. We both have the knowledge to do these things. I've become social media expert, a marketing expert, a development expert, a scheduler, a planner.
An accountant.
Well, I wasn't too far off, was I?
No.
Oh, no.
No. So all those things, and it's just things that I've had to learn on the fly. But again, it always, at least we try to always start everything with prayer and pray about it first. And if God wants it to happen, he's going to make it happen in his way and his time. And we just have to trust that.
Yeah, I love the question, Cameron, of wealth that matters. I don't know if we've ever really talked about this, but we've never defined wealth as just monetarily. We've had different opportunities throughout our careers to make more money, and we've resisted every single time. Not that that's something that, let's pat ourselves on the back, but we've stayed true to that. We've just we're really blessed. And so what can we do with the blessings that we have? One, let's recognize those that are more in need, and let's use what we have and give to them. That's just how we've always been wired. And this just gives us a much, much larger platform to do that. What does God want us to do? Are we supposed to hoard this just for us, or are we supposed to take what we have and give it away? So that's just how I think that's how our family has been strengthened, our marriage has been strengthened, because Lori and I are 100% on the same page. We never have financial conflict. We're like, okay, if we have something, do something good with it. We can still give away an awful lot and have the comforts. We still have a home, we still have food, we still have transportation. We don't need all this in savings. So it seems like let's start to give this and contribute to others in a bigger way. So that's how wealth matters to us.
Love it. Well, as we wrap up, I'd love to give you an opportunity to share some of your long-term goals. You alluded to them before, but how can those that are listening support and perhaps point you in the right direction here in this next chapter of Divine Mercy Health Center?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, just pray for us. There's a lot of things going on right now, a lot of moving parts, and we get pretty overwhelmed with what we feel like we're supposed to be doing. So definitely pray for us. If you have any experience in nonprofit or any ideas for us, if you are into marketing or social media or can help in any of those areas, we definitely can use any bit of advice or help in all those things.
From the moment that we started this, when I was looking at what they did in Memphis, I was like, what would be really cool in Memphis is if they took this and made this a statewide system. We're going to do that in Arkansas. The idea is that if this model would be successful in Central Arkansas, and if it would be successful in rural Arkansas, and if it could be successful outside Arkansas, why can't it be a true health system? And this clinic, once it's successful, why not replicate it and put these in the areas that really need it? And the business model allows it to be amazingly affordable healthcare. And there's so much flexibility. Those that are insured, they can bill their insurance. Those that want a concierge model, we are pricing this at a ridiculously low price point where it's basically right above cost of our staff. And so it allows almost anybody. I mean, we're talking about like $20 to $25 per month. And that includes all your primary care and your initial mental health visits and your labs. It's something that you just can't find that price point anywhere. And it looks like it's probably going to work. And so if we can prove this to be successful, somewhat independent of insurance, then I think it's going to be attractive across multiple different populations, both those that need and those healthy and those that are also infirm as well, because it's such a flexible model.
Lee, Lori, you've given the listeners different ways that they might be able to help. But if we're being completely honest, one of those ways is financially. Tell us a little bit more about your capital campaign that's going on in real time.
Yeah, we're just about ready to kick it off. It's mostly to help with the finishing of the construction and equipping the clinic that we're building. So our campaign is called Have Mercy, Give Health. And again, it's just an opportunity, again, for anybody that is interested in what we're doing to be a part of it. Just to help donate, to help those that are in need, and to help us be able to complete this clinic, to staff this clinic, and to be able to serve those who need primary care in Arkansas.
Yeah, the Have Mercy, Give Health campaign is supporting that new clinic we talked about that provides primary care, it provides mental health, provides substance abuse counseling, laboratory services. But it also allows us to expand our medical missions. While we're talking about an affordable healthcare model that kind of does cover cost, the capital campaign allows us to expand into new areas. And our advisors are working very closely with us about the establishment of an endowment. So we're excited about that. So we're working on getting that in place. So if a listener wanted to either contribute to construction or contribute to mission, or just help us kick off the endowment. Right now, our advisors are suggesting a $2 million endowment would allow us to fund the clinic. It would allow us to expand into numerous different areas across the state, and we can sort of do that off the interest of the endowment. So our target right now is a capital campaign of $2 million. And so we're praying that in, and we're going to see what God does with that.
Hey guys, we've learned a lot here today, but if somebody's interested in connecting with you, where can they find you? For those that are perhaps in the Little Rock area, how can they volunteer? Where can they donate?
So we've got a website. So it's divinemercyhealthcenter.org. So you can check us out there. A lot of information on there. There's a link to be able to donate or to volunteer on that site.
Or just find Lori.
I love it.
Just Google Lori Wilbur, and if you find her, she will figure out.
Google page, right?
I am not anywhere, no.
Yeah, no. The easiest ways to get us is we've had the website built such that you can volunteer, you can donate, you can email us, because if you contact us through the website, it goes directly to us, and we answer every email.
Fantastic, guys! This has been a wonderful time together. I hope our listeners get a lot out of this. And what we'll do in follow-up is include your contact information in the show notes. If anybody out there that's listening would like to get in touch with the Wilbers, you'll find that information. Otherwise, Wilbers, what a pleasure it is to work with you. And here's to the future. We're excited to see how the Divine Mercy Health Center continues to grow.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Vestia Advisors, LLC. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be construed as legal or tax advice and is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified attorney or tax advisor. This information is not an offer or a solicitation to buy or sell securities. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Before investing, you should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses associated with investment products. Investment decisions should be based on an individual's own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Diversification and asset allocation do not ensure a profit or guarantee against loss. Consult your financial professional before making any investments. Investment advisory services offered through Vestia Personal Wealth Advisors, Vestia Retirement Plan Consultants, and Vestia Advisors LLC. Securities offered through Osdale Financial Partners, Inc., 5187 Utica Ridge Road, Davenport, Iowa, 52807. Member, FINRA, SIPC. Vestia Personal Wealth Advisors, Vestia Retirement Plan Consultants, Vestia Advisors LLC, and Osdale Financial Partners, Inc. are independently owned and operated.